Greetings, family. Welcome to the Grand Rising Collective. My name is Kyle Dixon, co-host, educator, and entrepreneur for 20 years. Grand Rising Collective's here is to cultivate greatness in ourselves and our community.
And my name is Kaide Bentley, co-host, educator, and entrepreneur for over 20 plus years. My contribution to Grand Rising Collective is to help cultivate that greatness in ourselves and the community through impactful discussions, seminars, and webinars with my co-host, Kyle Dixon.
Good evening, family. Good evening. I'm Kaide Bentley, the co-host of Grand Rising Collective. My colleague, Kyle Dixon, he's unable to join us this evening, but nonetheless, that doesn't stop us from moving along with having fantastic guests to share with you their experience, their wherewithal, their struggles, their challenges, and most of all, their successes, because it's through struggle and failure that you achieve success. That's the typical tunnel. Grand Rising Collective is here to inspire and motivate and spark the greatness within ourselves and within our community that consists of children, parents, educators, business owners, and just community leaders in general. This guest that we have on today is a wonderful young lady that I had the pleasure of meeting earlier this year, as a matter of fact, at a teen summit that was done. And it was very inspirational. Whenever I get to speak with youth, y'all know this already. It's always a joy. So we got to meet some beautiful people, Stacey being one of them. So without any further delay, Stacey is here, and she's going to share with us some of her struggles as I pose some questions in this conversation. So, family, thank you for joining us again. Cal, the co-host, is here in spirit. And before there's any further delay, let's get into it. So, Stacey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm tired, but I'm great. So,
I just had a whole event today, so yeah, a little tuckered, but I'm good. I'm here. I did a whole event. I did an event earlier today, so I'm a little tired myself because I haven't had any sleep, but I'm here with you.
So what was the event? Tell me about the event.
So a friend of mine, well, it's actually a group of them. They also decorate. That's my other thing is decorating. So they also decorate, and they one of them is a breast cancer survivor, 2-time breast cancer survivor. So she has an event every year called Sweat Fed. So it's a day where, women get together and men get together, and it's soca, dancing, working out. They were making me tired watching them. I don't even know. I don't know how they could move that hard for that long, but it was great. It was wonderful. A lot of people came out. It was a great turnout. A lot of great energy in the room, and for a very good cause.
Fantastic. Yeah, the soca. I got to get. My dad does merengue. I mean, when he was a little younger, he did the merengue and the soca. But yeah, I'm very fascinated with that dance style. Okay. So Cal and I, we had the privilege and the pleasure to be invited to your teen summit earlier this year and speak with young people, and it was part of your foundation, right? If you would be so kind as to share with us the name of your foundation and what is it about? And then I know this is a 2-part question. What motivated you to start that foundation? So if you can answer those 3, that'd be great.
Okay. So the name of the foundation is the Bonello Foundation, which is my last name. And it is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we center on the entire family, actually. So from infants all the way up to seniors, we service all different age levels, all different types of aspects of whatever it is that there's a need, and we can come in and meet that need, whether it be providing resources, having classes, workshops, seminars, conferences, whatever it is that we can meet the need of the community at whatever age and level that they're at. That's what we do. The reason I came up with the foundation, I've been actually doing the work for way over 20 years. Since I was younger up until now, I've always had that heart to give back. I watched my parents always giving back. I watched my grandparents always giving back. Like my dad would give you the shirt off his back if you need something and you go to him, you can get it. My mom would lend my friends money. I'm like, I need $20. Like your mom is so nice, she's so cool, and I'm like, I don't get this money, but okay. But always giving back, from church, to my friends, to just the neighbors, just whoever needed something. You need a meal. My mom also catered, which is how I started catering, and always cooking something for somebody. If somebody needed something, she's visiting somebody, giving them. So she still does that to this day. She's like in her late 70s, still cooking for people, still bringing things to people. She volunteers at a drug rehab center, and she still catering to people, still giving to people. My dad he's 80, just turned 80 in August, always out there building something for somebody. He's like still climbing trees, cutting trees down. They're living in Florida. They think they're in Jamaica because they got goats and chickens. But just always giving back. So I watched my family always giving back, and they instilled that in me to always give back. And I've had, certain tough times in my own life where I've been helped out. And I always said that, if I ever get in a position where I'm able to help somebody else, I'm going to do that. And it doesn't matter how far I have to go or what I have to do. If I'm able, God gave me too many talents, breath in my lungs, life every morning, more blessings than most. Why would I not give back?
You mentioned, like for me, my organization, 4T's Teaching Teens to Think, is one in which I help, inner city youth in particular to think, right? And then part of it to think about their future, to think about their career in entrepreneurship. Um, and one of the tools that we use to do that is do a CPE form called career preparation evaluation, whereas it helps. It poses the question to young people: what are you inherently good at? What are you naturally good at? Now, my experience over 20 years is in IT, information technology, and organization. But there are students who have skills in very other aspects, or inherent skills in other aspects, journalism, finance, things of that nature. They have a knack for that. But Fortis is not a one-stop shop for all. So we
Right.
can't provide them with how can I say, the documentation or the experience in an area that we're not a specialist in or familiar with. My question to you and your organization: how do you determine the need of your so-called clientele, right? And then once you determine the need of your clientele, how do you provide them with those resources? Is your organization a jack of all trades where you could provide them with everything? Do you have all those resources, or do you result to like your network to provide these resources? And what does that look like, I guess, is my question, in providing those resources to your your clients and your supporters?
So definitely have a network, because I can't possibly do everything. It's impossible. People think that I can, but it is impossible to, you can't know it all. You can't do it all. So definitely have to have a great network. And I do have a great network of people, including lawyers and doctors and accountants, CPAs, other agencies that deal with the elderly, that deal with children. So there are so many different people that I've connected to, that I'm able to connect to the other people that actually need those resources. So most definitely networking, and letting them know, like, if I can't do it, I'm going to find somebody that can.
Got you. Because I'm sure a lot, people come to you and be like, oh, they expect you to, do miracles and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You individually. Oh, and then they get mad at you. You get, oh, I'll find your answer. Yeah, yeah.
I actually had a friend once said he nicknamed me All Purpose, and I'm like, no, I can't do everything.
Too much pressure, son. Don't get
Right. I'm like, that's a little bit too much pressure for one person.
I put a stop to that real quick. I'm like, hey, oh, I'm not, hey, Alfonso, if I can, I let it know right at the beginning. Listen, if I don't have the answer, I'll find
I'll
someone
find
who
it for you.
does, or someone I
Exactly.
met in money. I got to make sure that that's clear because you'd be surprised people get upset. when they have
Yeah, like, what do you mean you don't
expectations.
do that? I don't do everything. I just can't.
Can you tell?
But
Can
I'll
you
find you somebody that does.
got to put that up front because you know how they are.
Mhm.
Um, it's real. So can you? I was informed that you had an event. I think sometime last week. What was that
Yeah.
event about? What was that about? Tell us. Tell
So
us.
that was very happy with that event. That was our second annual gala and fundraiser for the Bonello Foundation. And it was just phenomenal. We were able to honor, which is a big thing for me, is honoring people while they're here, giving
Okay.
people their flowers while they're here. You know, we always wait until people are like dead and gone and in the grave, and then we want to tell them how great they were. Like they can't hear you. So I like to tell people now, you've done such a great job, especially community leaders that are actually doing work in the community. And I know quite a few of them, not the ones that grab the check and run and, yeah, pat their pockets and go, but
Right.
the ones that are actually doing the work in the community, um, getting their hands dirty, being out there with the people. Those are the people that I invited and honored at this event. So this was a day, not only to celebrate the Bonello Foundation and the work that we're doing in the community, but to also celebrate the other people in the community that sometimes don't get celebrated and don't get recognized, and no one really knows who they are. Sometimes they're behind the scenes. They're not in the forefront. They're not the senator, the council person. They're not the head of any company, but their support, and the support is invaluable. And they've been supporting, like, some of the people I honored, like they're supporting people for years. They've always supported people. They've always, they've been the backbone for a lot of other organizations, but never actually got the recognition that they deserved. So that that was one of the highlights for me. That was one of the highlights of the event. The food was great, drinks were great, everything was flowing, entertainment was awesome. We had a photo booth. It was wonderful. But the smiles on the people, and it's funny because I called a few people, I surprised a few people. And the ones that I did call just to make sure, like, make sure you're there, they were like, "Who are you sure you sent it to the right person? Like, did you mean to text somebody else?" And I'm like, "That's why you're getting honored, because you're so humble about it. Like, you actually did the work and you deserve the recognition, but you're so humble about it. You don't even feel like you should be getting anything." So that made me feel good to be able to honor them for that day.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's so funny because that's why Cal and myself started Grand Rising Collective, because we noticed there are a
Mhm.
lot of influencers, a lot of people on the ground doing the work, and that's what Cal says. Actually doing the work, that aren't
Mhm.
recognized. That are of our
Right.
ethnicity. You know what I mean? That's fantastic. So
Mhm.
I applaud you with that, and that's one of the similarities that we have, and why we started this, Grand Rising Collective, to
Mhm.
showcase and to highlight those who are doing the work and don't want the recognition. I know a colleague of
Mhm.
mine that we're still in the same organization, but locations change. He's
Right.
great. I'll give him props. His name is Darren Johnson, and they call him Burger, and he's fantastic with juniors, young
Mhm.
kids, coming up with
Nice.
activities and stuff like that. And whenever acknowledgements made, he's always uncomfortable. He gonna get mad. He's gonna get mad at me. If he see this, he's gonna get mad at me. Come on, B. I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting them know, man. Uh, he's like, he don't like the spotlight. He doesn't like the
Mhm.
recognition or what have you. But he's always on time. Never since I've been
Mhm.
there. Apart since that they've been a client of mine, the Boys and Girls Club, for over 6 years.
Wow.
Never seen him late. Never.
Wow.
Vacations, rarely. Like he takes
Mhm.
vacations because they make him take vacations. They literally have to make him not
I get
not report to work. You know what I mean? And it's always a source of inspiration. So kudos to the fundraising event that you did last week, and acknowledging those. And that
it.
spirit is just a blessing. Um,
And I get Darren, because they actually surprised me with an award, and I was like, no, I'm giving out the awards.
and it's funny. Like with me, I just do the. That's why I think it's so important that what I do and the message that I share out is finding your inherent skill set, like finding what you do naturally. Because there's not a quote or a cliche, as they say, when you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, and that's what
Right.
that is. You know what I mean? I think people who are in positions that they don't love and that they're not passionate about, they need that recognition and that
Right.
acknowledgement in order to keep doing the work when it's not
Right.
something that they do naturally. So I'm
Absolutely.
with you. And people ask me, I just do the job. I don't know how to verbalize. And I had another colleague of mine, Stacey, that I work with as well. He moved on. His name, Mr. C. I call him Mr. C. Curtis. Um, he was trying to tell headquarters, you know, because he was moving and he didn't want to leave the organization because he loves the children that much, right?
Right.
But he had to move because financially it wasn't paying his bill. He has like children and a wife he has to support, and they weren't compensating him. This guy was amazing. Stacy, he was amazing. He
Wow.
brought teams in, 100, he eclipsed all the other clubs, dynamic brother. And he was like, okay, how do I phrase this letter to headquarters to let them know exactly what I've done in order to validate them, increasing my salary
Right.
to keep me on board so I can be with the kids, so I can be with, with the young people. And what was so humbling for me was the fact that he didn't know, he would not acknowledge all the great work that he did. And I'm like,
Wow.
yo, Kurt, you did this, you did that. Without you, we wouldn't
Right.
have had this, we would have had that. He said, but I don't know, okay, I just do the work. He just does the work. So again, that event that you did, Stacey, fantastic.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for that. And if anything, hopefully this is a little plug, we might need you to do an event for us, man.
No, of course. Anytime.
Fantastic.
Definitely let me know.
so
I got you.
so I equate that selfless uh uh personality of people to a spirit, right? I'm grateful to God that I have been born and raised in the church, not per se the building, but
Right.
just the acknowledgement and getting to know at a young age, thanks to my mom, that there is a higher force, a higher being, a creator of us all. And I think to a large degree, that's what's missing in society today because they've lost
Absolutely.
connection, right, with their source. And from what I understand, you're a very spiritual person as well. What role? And I could share this. Since I started my organization over 20 years ago, like you, I've burnt out plenty of times. I've had a lot of peaks and I had a lot of valleys. To me,
Right.
it seems like more valleys than peaks. But what I kid you not, I don't know why I'm still doing this to be honest. But but it's the grace of God. It's
Absolutely.
right. It's his energy that he gives me. Days where I feel like I can't go on any further, it's those days that I just yield and let go. And when I do that, he always manages to have someone or something speak to my spirit or speak to my energy that gives me that extra umph that I need to carry on, which confirms that I'm in my lane, I'm on the right track, and to keep going. You know what I mean? What has that experience been for you? In with your organization, and have you experienced any challenges? Have you felt like giving up? And if so, how has the Lord or your relationship spiritually helped you to keep going? Would you care to share that?
Sure. Well, like as you're speaking, I'm thinking of a laptop computer,
Okay. Okay.
and you have a power cord,
Okay.
and you can plug the power cord out for a little while, and your laptop will, it'll run for a
Ah.
little while,
Okay.
but eventually you got to plug it back in order to keep going. Right. So
Nice.
I equate that to, sometimes that's how our relationship with God is. And, we disconnect a little bit, but he still keeps us going. But then you got to get back to that connection again in order to keep on going. So as long as I realize, as long as I keep connecting, he keeps me going. And some of those plug in moments for me is I do a food pantry every week, and I get up in the morning, go out to Long Island City to another nonprofit organization where they'll get the food from different sources, And there are other people like myself that will go out there, pick up the food and bring it back to distribute it to their neighborhoods, whether it's in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens. People come from all different places to this specific spot called 9 Million Reasons. When I go in the morning. Sometimes I'm there by myself. Sometimes I'm loading a whole vehicle by myself.
Wow.
God bless if there's somebody there, if there's a young man there that can help, or just anybody there that can help. If not, I still got to get stuff in the vehicle. I came out there for a purpose. And I'll get back, and sometimes the line will be crazy. It'll be around a corner. Sometimes I know I've come back at least once or twice, and people on the line are arguing about whatever it is. Someone, I left my card here, or somebody, just nonsense. But, like I tell my mentees, you don't know what people went through before you see them. So anything could have happened. That woman could have got beat up by her boyfriend. She could have gotten into an argument with somebody. So I get on the line, I see those people, but there's always, every single time, I feel like I'm so tired, and I've had those days like, why am I still doing this? And I have people like, you still doing the pantry? You sound like people still hungry.
Yeah.
And I'll have like that one or two people that's like, you know what, sis, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. I didn't get my food stamps this month, or they shorted me, or I didn't know what I was going to cook for my kids this evening. So those are the moments that keep me going and let me know you're doing the right thing. People out here do need it. As much as people be like, oh, there's 50 million pantries all over the place. Well, maybe that person didn't get to that pantry. Maybe that person doesn't even know that other pantry exists. And yes, there may be somebody that did go to maybe 2 or 3 pantries, but that's not everybody. And the need is still out there. There's still people that are not working as much as before, not making the type of money that they were making before, and need that supplement. And even, I have people that will pass by and ask, oh, is this for the homeless people? I'm like, well, most homeless people don't even have a stove, so they can't cook this stuff. So if you need it, yeah, you're working, but I'm like, do you need it? Do you need something? And they're like, I was gonna go to the store to go buy XYZ, but you have XYZ here, and it was gonna cost me, more than what I had. Go ahead, not a problem. It's for everybody, anybody that needs it. So in those moments, that's when I realized that, you're doing the right thing. Keep on going, keep on pushing. People do need it. People are depending on it. And if, God gives you a vision, he gives you a job, and then he equips you to do it. And because I feel like God has equipped me to do it, I feel like I have to keep on pushing forward to getting it done.
Those moments, thank you. Thank you for that. Those are quite humbling. No, I'm serious. Those are humbling moments. And I think that's to a large extent what keeps me grounded. There's a
Right.
cliche that says, therefore by the grace of God go I. Like, where it's like, that could be me in that
Right.
situation. And, some of the things I struggle with, Stacey, is like you said, you don't know what that person's been through. Until you walk the mile in their shoes, and that's what keeps me, like I said before, grounded. Like
Right.
I don't know, I can't imagine being in a situation where you have no food to eat.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
um, thank you for sharing that. That's poof. Um, so for me, when I go through those struggles and I have those empty, how can I say, gas tank moments, and I mentioned before that there's always something or someone that in my life, I can think of, just like, for example, I can think of young people who have served as inspiration for me. For example, I've had a
Yeah.
conversation with these young people who just is amazing. We went to this I forgot the name of. Matter of fact, I have the flyer right here. It was called Sierra Britain Gallery presents a color story, and was right there in Brooklyn, 22B Plymouth Street, Brooklyn, New York. I just gave them a plug. So
Okay.
the boy, I mean, hey, that's what we're
That's
supposed
what
to
you do.
do, right? And it was beautiful because it was about a young lady
Mhm,
who she shared a great story. She said that she was, from the Midwest, a sister from the Midwest
mhm.
came to Manhattan to start her gallery, her art gallery,
Nice.
and she spoke with the owner of the space, and they were telling her everything is great, the space was great, the price was great, everything was fine, and then 2 weeks before she was supposed to, do her gallery, they
Mhm.
came back and said, "Oh, they gave her the bait and switch. Oh, we
Oh
can't. We
wow.
have another, person who's willing to pay, and they're willing to pay more, what have you." And they left
Wow.
her stranded out there. So what she did was, her story was fantastic. She said that she combed the pavement all down Soho, that
Mm.
art district or what have you, knocked on
Mhm. Yes.
every door, called every gallery or what have you,
Wow.
asked, and some are like, "Oh, are you oh, that price is, unreasonable. We're not, give up in essence,"
Hmm.
is what they were telling. And like the Colonel Sanders story, 99, he went to
Mm.
99, right, that whole thing. And she found a
Mm.
place that not only was a better space,
Wow.
also for less money. And that's how that was
Mhm.
that one. The title of the event was 6 Degrees of Separation. And she was saying that
Wow.
took that one yes that opened up the door for her,
Okay.
to go.
Mhm.
And I consider that in a kind of in a kind of abstract way, an inspiration. It was that one person
Yeah.
that served as an inspiration to keep her going. Well, it's these young people, part of it, that keep me going. And it was young people that I brought with me. Well, that was a part of the program that went with me, that I had an opportunity to talk with and ask them, well, what colleges are you going to? And they surprised me. It was fantastic. I was
Wow.
surprised to hear these young black men, 18 years old, not even in college, having
Wow.
such a clear head on their shoulders, giving
Mhm.
direction. There was some things that they missed along the way, but thank God I'm there, and that's what I'm there for, to provide that guidance. But
Yes.
they provide me with the inspiration to keep going. There's another person, Craig Radix, when I first started Fortees, that brought me in to his production company, and it was him that gave me the template by which to follow to know about the structure of a organization, to get
Right.
on the business plans and stuff like that. So the question to you, Stacy, is who, as an individual, maybe a person or maybe a thing or maybe a place, served as your inspiration into what you're doing? I know your parents were givers, and
Mhm.
you learned that they gave away, or maybe that's the answer. Maybe it was your parents, but was there someone, in addition to your parents, or someone along your journey that inspired you to do what you do with regards to your foundation?
Definitely my parents. They definitely inspire me along the way, my parents, grandparents, and so forth. Um, but don't get it twisted, because like every Jamaican parent out there, like if you're not a nurse or a doctor, you're a failure.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah, so I had to
thought
go
that
through
was a
that struggle.
Nigerian trait, though, because I have a colleague of
Oh,
mine who came with cable, and they said if you're not, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer. What are those two things? Other than that,
right. I
that's
think that's a
Jamaican too.
Caribbean, African, like that's just how it is. So my mom was no different. My dad was a lot more, a lot more liberal, and he's like, do what you love. It's all right. Like my
I
mother was not having it. She's just like, what y'all doing? I'm like, Mom, like this makes me money. It's not a 9 to 5, but it does, it does the job. But
mm, mm,
but the funny thing is, even with all the challenges with my mom, she's one of my biggest supporters now. Like, and for years now, she's been singing my praises to all her friends. It's
mm.
hilarious to even watch, and but it's a beautiful thing, and I'm proud of the fact that she's proud of what I do. Um, I have a friend of mine who's actually on my board, and I've known him for over 20 years. He's my lawyer.
Okay.
And I actually met him. He was running a gym, and it was called 24/7 Lats, Johnny Lats, and it was a bodybuilder's gym. So I was dating a bodybuilder at the time. I'm like the only non-bodybuilder in this gym, working out like a beast 6 days a week. And we became friends. I started doing work for him because I used to do professional organizing and some other stuff. And then, as the years of friendship passed by, he was like, you're doing all this great work. And a few years ago, he was like, you need to make this official. Like, get your 501(c)(3, get your, I'll help you do everything. Because he was like, I form nonprofits, and like we've been friends for too long for me not to help you form your nonprofit. So he really, he's definitely a mentor to me. He's a little bit older than me. Definitely a mentor to me. Has always given me really great advice. Has always really pushed me to just do and be the best that I can be in this arena and just in life, period. He's always been there, always had my back. And he as well, in turn, he's a lawyer, but he also gives of his time as well. So, just being around a bunch of givers and then having that person who, actually helped me form the organization also be a giver, those are some of the people that have really influenced me a lot. But he was a huge influence on me actually going and getting that stuff. It was like, get it together, girl. So he helped me a lot with that.
That's fantastic. Two things come to mind when you said that. There are a lot of people, young people in particular, who are doing things just like I said, naturally, and don't realize that that could actually be a career or can be entrepreneur.
Right.
So to have that mentor, as it were, in your life, say, "Girl, you need to just make this official. You're doing all this stuff for free. Nothing
Right.
wrong with it, but you need gas to get the car running. So there's nothing wrong with
Right.
getting compensated for the work that you do, and that's what makes it beautiful, especially as a nonprofit. As we get more into this, is that the purpose of a nonprofit, because when people hear nonprofit, they think poverty, poor, you can't live off being a nonprofit. No, but it's the money that you get back from this, you pour back into the organization. You know what I mean? And to be able to do what you love and to be compensated for it and have the natural heart to just naturally give back, I think that's the spirit of nonprofit. Some people take advantage of it, but the spirit of
Right.
nonprofit, if you're sincere about what you do in your organization is a nonprofit, you'll naturally give back to the community and the resources that you're giving. And like I said before, that's the spirit of nonprofit. So that's blessed. And I think that's another reason why for young people, I try and get them in that mindset to understand this is what you do naturally. And in doing
Right.
naturally, you'll be compensated for what you love, and you'll naturally want to, you know, produce or create a better product or provide a
Right.
better service, because it comes natural to you, and you learn and gravitate all the new trends or what have you that's related to that skill set. So I'm glad you shared that, Stacey. The other thing I
Yeah.
want to share with you is I had that same experience growing up. When I was 20, how was it, 26, I worked at Woolworth Corporation. Doesn't
Oh,
exist
wow.
now. But yeah, I worked at Woolworth. I worked at Woolworth
Wow.
Corporation.
I
Not the
remember
five and dime,
Woolworth.
no, not the five and dime stores, the actual corporate office at 233
Oh, got you.
Broadway.
Wow.
And I was in the MIS department, which is Management Information Systems. And
Okay.
at the time, Woolworth could do no wrong. It was a company that's been in existence for years. You know what I mean?
Decades.
And I experienced. We're gonna get real. I experienced the glass ceiling. Right. I was the only. No, I wasn't. I wasn't the only black person, but I was the only young black male in that department. So
Wow.
yeah, there was the supervisor over me. He was of I think Jewish descent, if I'm not mistaken. And there was one other black employee in that department. He was kind of old. He was in his late 40s, right? And I was the young. Got in there at 20. And the reason why I say this in terms in line with what you shared was what I was there for. It was my fourth year, and this is spiritual as well. So I started reading. I'm not trying to get too deep, but Jesus Christ.
I'm laughing to myself because I'm like, this is, it's such a mirror right now, because I was in a corporate job, my very last corporate job, and one of my bosses basically told me, you've hit the glass ceiling. Like, I don't know if he thought I was coming for his job, but he literally told me, like, well, I don't know if you want to, start looking for something else, because this is pretty much as high as you're gonna go. And I'm like, wow. I was the
Oh,
only black man. I managed the whole sales team. I was the only black female, black manager, period, and black female manager for that company. at that
Oh.
time. Yeah. So
Whoa.
go ahead.
Yeah. It's a small world, 6 degrees. You know what I mean?
Oh
We're all
God.
connected with our experiences. But
Crazy.
no, that was, you know,
it was going into like about my 3rd or 4th year there at that point too. That's why I was like, wow, okay.
There's so much stuff I can share with you, because this is one of the things that I tell the young people when I have my sessions, my real talk sessions, passport to manhood sessions, man of purpose sessions, is that is long gone are the days of our parents where you could work at a job for like 40 years, and even that wasn't a reward, because you're spending 40 years at a job, and at the end of it all they give you is a gold-plated pen with a certificate saying thank you for your service.
Not even gold.
Not even, right? Gold-plated. You know what I'm saying? We talk, you know what I mean? So I'm like, even that wasn't a come up. That wasn't even all that. So so I tell them, now you only have a good 4 to 5 years, if any, at a company before they're either looking to promote you or fire you. And each year you have to always do better. That's what the annual evaluations are for. So it's funny you mentioned that. So in that 4th year, it's just, again, relationship with Christ, belief, and all that other stuff, where I just started. I discovered, and that's why I wish there was the 4 T's when I was that age, because I had to learn by investing 4 years and tripping up and learning the hard way as opposed to learning from someone else. But it was in that 4 years I learned about my organizational skills. I learned about how I am at organizing. And what I did was I noticed the system that was used in printing papers and stuff like that. And I came up with a system. It was like an evaluation form to monitor how much was being produced, the effective and efficiency of productivity. And in my annual evaluation, I brought that to my supervisor. And my supervisor was so impressed. I'm only, at this time, Stacey, I was 25 years old. Wow. Everyone in that department was at least a good 6 to 7 years older than me. Right. So I was the youngest in that department, but I made such an impression on my supervisor with that he promoted me to the supervisor of the MIS department. So here is a 25-year-old young man supervising his seniors. That was that was so amazing, right? So with me in a year, I mastered it. I figured out I had I had everything running because I was doing my inherent skill set.
Right.
And I streamlined it. Everything was great. And that was fine. So I got to a point where I mastered this. Now I want another challenge. When you're young, you're hubris and all that other stuff. And I wanted to go into, because I was dealing with mainframe computers. These big computers back, with the tape reel.
Right.
So I noticed it was the advent. This is in the 90s, mid 90s. The advent of the personal computers started to really come in. Like the personal PCs and stuff. And there was a department that was growing, and I wanted to get into that department. And this is where that glass ceiling came. So when I tried to get into that department, my supervisor never said it as blatant and as blunt as yours did. in a subpar way, try, sabotage you and stuff like that. So I caught wind of that. And, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. And then it was during that time where I just transitioned out of that, because I just wanted to share that in regards to when I decided to transition out in relation to your story. I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm thinking of, I want to leave Woolworth Corporation because I want to get into this department. They're not letting me. I started for my organization at the age of 22, which was 3 years prior. So I wanted to get out there and really see what my organization could do. And it was my dad. My mom was like your dad, I think. Yeah, because my mom was like, I support you, son. I know how I raised you. I know you can do it no matter what you do. I know you're going to be the best at it and you're going to win. That was my mom. My dad, on the other hand, was like, are you crazy? What's wrong with you? Woolworth Corporation is a good company. You can retire there. What you doing? You out your mind. You know what I mean? So it was funny with that. And then here's the funny thing. I think it was like around 5 years or 6 years later, Woolworth goes out of business.
Wow.
My plan was to stay at Woolworth Corporation. I would have been out anyway, or somewhere within that time frame. You know what I mean? And I think
my company's not there anymore either.
I would say that to say I get it with your parents, Jamaican and lawyer and all that
other.
That was outside their concept of, norm. I got it. you mentioned one of the one of the things I want to one of the things I like to like like really get into is the reality that, and I don't know where you stand politically, so no offense, but one of the things that Barack Obama mentioned and what's been you can see in the world today is that the how can I say, the conventional methods of livelihood is pretty much gone, right? So
Right.
to survive now, you need supplemental income, right?
Yeah,
You need a
absolutely.
two income, and then you bring in the advent of technology. So you have a lot of people making a living off of the internet, where
Right.
it's YouTube, Instagram. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, so these are the things that I try and enlighten the young people that I speak with and people in general. And the reason why I mention that is because I try and give them, business, how can I say, terminology, or open their mind to business ways of living or business
Right.
ways of establishing a career. You mentioned your board of directors. And if for young people who are interested into, how can I say, starting their own business,
Hmm.
whatever pathway they use, whether it's do a career, establishing their reputation, do a career, and then entrepreneurship, or right out the gate, like
Hmm.
some of them have right from college starting their businesses. One of the key, and because I want to get to a question with that, but you mentioned your board of directors. How did you go about attaining? How many board of directors do you have, and how did you go about attaining them? What was that process? How challenging, if any, was it in getting your board of directors? What was that process like?
I have three board of directors. One one is a family member because I trust her. So that one was easy. I'm like, I need at least one person that I know that I can implicitly trust. And like, she's the treasurer secretary, and she is very money conscious. I have it's my sister. I absolutely trust her with every dime that I have. So that was an easy part.
Got you.
I know she won't steal from me. My lawyer, obviously, many years of friendship, and he knows what he's doing, and he knows the law. So that was almost a no-brainer. I had to kind of talk him into it because I think he was on like two other boards already.
Okay.
And I'm like, Tony, you can't have me out here hanging. You can't leave me hanging. Like, you started, you helped me start this. I need you to still be here, at least until I can get somebody else that's comparable. But he's
Okay.
been sticking it out.
Okay.
And my other board of directors, I actually met her. I met her when I started doing the food pantry through
Okay.
another friend of mine. And she, at the time, she switched jobs now. She has a great position at an organization that houses formerly incarcerated women and their families.
Mm.
And she was before that she was at a charter school, and she was basically the finance person for the charter school. So
Wow.
she was the administrative person for the school, did their finances, budgeting. She graded all of that stuff. She knew about, funding and grants and so forth, and had access to other people that also knew about it. So when I met her, we had spoken a few times. I actually had her school at the time when her school was one of the stops that we were bringing, the kids were helping to also do some community service and, help to give the food out as well.
Right.
When I spoke to her, in the beginning, I could tell she had a lot of stuff going on with the school and so forth. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna wait this out. Like, she's really, I love her to death. She's really cool. She's not just great at her job, she's a great person.
Okay.
And she is a person that gives back
Yeah.
big time. Like, she would buy uniform for the kids at the school that didn't have, they came and they couldn't afford uniforms. She'd buy out of her own money, not the school's money. She would buy the uniforms herself. So I'm like, this is the heart of the person that I want
Hmm.
to be part of my organization.
Hmm.
So I waited a little while, and back to having that connection,
Right.
right?
Yep.
I said to myself, if she ever asks me if she wants to be on my board, I'm gonna be like, yes. I've been waiting. And I don't remember how long it took, but one day she was just like, you know what? Do you need another board member? And I was like, girl, if you only knew. I said, anytime Debbie asks me if she wants to be on my board, it is a resounding yes. And she asked, and I was like, yes, please. Like, I've been waiting. So yeah, so that's how she came on board, and it's great. Our board meetings are great, and my board is very involved. We're not the board, and I already told them from the get. I joke with them all the time. It's like, you're not that board that just is in the background, never comes out to the events. Nobody knows who you are except for the picture on the website. No, that's not you. Like, you're actually going to be active. This is a very active organization, an active board, and they have been very active. They were both at, all three of them were at the gala. Most of the events that I have, they all try to, everybody has a lot of stuff going on, but whatever they can make, they make. But even if they can't make it to the physical gala, they're contributing financially. They're helping with the planning process. We have our meetings about it, so they are very involved in the process. So each person is kind of handpicked and really intentional about the type of person that I wanted to have on the board. Even my sister, she's a pain in my butt, but she gets the job done. If I need her to get something done, she's definitely going to get it done. So everyone there is supposed to be there.
That's blessed. Thank you for that. Because one of the challenges that I face with my board is it's like, well, because it's relative. It's relative. So I don't mean family either. I'm saying it's relative in regards to the experiences. I've done stories.
And nobody's perfect. My board is not perfect, but they try their best to do what they can.
And that's a blessing to find, 3 people, let alone one person.
One, right?
You know what
right.
I mean? So because I know that personally, because in trying to get my board of directors, I have approximately 4, as a matter of fact, right? And I make the deciding vote because you have to have an odd number, right? All my research and studies and all that other stuff is crazy. They fluctuate and all that. But it's been very challenging for me because I've dealt with board members who were, like you said, just names and pictures on the website. Whenever I would have events, there was always some reason why they couldn't show up. Or it was like, and this is the thing that I find challenging, which is a blessing, right? You're extremely blessed because a lot of young people who come from the inner cities don't have that necessary, how can I say, resource at their fingertips. They don't have family members who are running organizations or in the top, whatever of major corporations that they can actually provide, resources for your organization. And that's a challenge. So when you're confronted with that, then you're in the situation, and that's the situation I'm describing for myself. Then you have to go out and network and meet people to sit on your board. And it's not like you can go and meet them one day at a fundraiser or an event and say, listen, I would like for you to sit on my board, and they're going to be willing to sit on the board.
Right.
You gotta build those relationships. You know what I mean? And building those relationships costs.
You gotta know who you're working with.
You gotta know who you're working with, right? And
this one verse that my mother always drilled in my head, I'll never say, know them that labor among you. So you got to know the people that you're working with, like inside, as much as you can, anyway. As much as you can, you got to know who you're working with, because some people are not for you.
No.
And they're not for what they're not for what you stand for, and they don't stand for that. So you got to know those people. Yeah, definitely one chance meeting ain't going to do it.
You know what I mean? And you got to invest time. Like part of my vetting process is Starbucks, taking them out to Starbucks, treating them to Starbucks. Another part of my vetting process, how can I help you? Is anything I help with, right? And then you're dealing with young people or people in disadvantaged positions. What do you even have to offer that they may need? You may not even have. You may have something that you can offer, such as something abstract, but they don't need it. That's not what they need. So then that becomes a challenge in regards to securing the candidate. So I've been blessed to get my board of directors through presentations that I've done, right? Like I've done presentations at schools and Vice president of Bank of America is a board member that I have on my board. And I got her because of a career fair at a school, and she heard me speak, and we sat down and had a coffee, and it was a connection right there. Another board member that I got was someone who was a consultant of mine in my organization. And they were like, listen, I have this person that heard, I told them about your organization, and they're interested in contributing and helping out in any way. And, that's how I was able to secure my board of directors. So I wanted to ask that question to you to get a different perspective, a different vantage point for those who are interested in, yes, say, pursuing a nonprofit organization. One of the key things, which is my follow-up question I want to ask you, Stacey, in building that, how can I say, the structure of your organization. There's certain key positions and key fields that need to be filled in order to have a successful organization. Board of directors is one of them. What kind of, my follow-up question, Stacey, is what are some of the challenges that you faced with your foundation, your nonprofit organization, such as staff? What would you advise a young person? What key positions should be filled first? What are the key integral positions that, I know you don't know all organizations, and there are various organizations
right.
related to your organization. What were the key positions that you needed to fill first? Or what would you suggest would be the key positions to fill first in starting a nonprofit?
Well, that's pretty much how I picked the board of directors. Having a finance person, someone who is good with finances. I'm more of I can do things. Like I'm not a stupid girl. I can figure out how to checks and balances and so forth. But that's not my main thing. So I don't profess to be a CPA or a financier. So I need somebody who knows that stuff inside out. So that would be the financial person.
Okay.
The legal aspect of things, knowing if you're running your organization properly, knowing what the laws are that govern your organization and how you're supposed to conduct certain things, even how to conduct certain meetings. Having somebody that knows how to do those things in a nonprofit organization. So having somebody that can advise you on how a nonprofit runs. And, going, even if that person doesn't have all the answers, someone that can direct you to find some of the answers that you do need. There are so many like groups of nonprofit orgs that come together. They have Facebook groups and all kinds of groups. I joined a group last year, and the information is invaluable because these are other nonprofits sharing with nonprofits as far as which forms they need to fill out for tax purposes. How do you get your volunteers? How do you attain funding? Where do you go? Who do you speak to? So all of those things are truly important. I think just getting with other nonprofits and learning from other nonprofits, what is it that you had to go through in order to get to where you are? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of people out there that have plenty of experience that we can garner from them. So I would say my top three would be, the finance person. Make sure you have someone that does know how to take care of the finance, especially if you're not. I'm a creative. Like I will sit down and create all day. I'll come up with, my friend calls me Eventbrite. He's like, you're doing another event? I'm like, yes, the people need it. So I'll wake up in the middle of the night and just come up with something, and I got to write it down. That's how my brain is wired. So I need somebody that knows the legal stuff. I need somebody that knows the finances. I need somebody that can take all the notes so that we can go back and say, hey, this is what happened in the meeting. This is what we need to follow up on. This is who we need to call, all those different things. So those would be my top three.
Thank you so much. And it's funny you mentioned creative, because that's me too. I'm creative. Like I got the concept, the vision and all that, and that's great. The drawback of it is I do and I have done stuff for free. Because that's just what I do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I can't tell you, I can't tell you how much money I invested in my organization since it started over 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
That's why my lawyer was just like, yeah. Like how long you been coming out of pocket there, Stace? And I'm like, yeah, it's been quite some time.
You know what I mean? So I think that's
I get it. But I mean, you have to start off investing in yourself, because that's how you get to the people that are going to invest in you. You know, people are not just going to automatically just give you money for everything right away. So if you have to start off, hey, all right, I'm going to start off and have an event that's going to draw people in to see what it is that I'm doing. Who's going to pay for that event? Because those people don't know you yet. I can't get you to pay for an event that you don't know anything. You don't know my organization. You don't know anything about me. You know, you don't have anyone that knows what I've done. And even if they tell you, it's like, okay, show and prove. So now I got to pay for that, get all that stuff together, get you to come to see what I'm doing. And then now I can get you to invest in what I'm doing.